Topping the annual sales chart by a wide margin, it's no secret that Rolex comfortably sits on top of the wish list of many watch collectors, and that's for many reasons. However, just like every other highbrow company out there, it has its shortcomings and exhausting issues, some being widely recognized as almost a trademark by now, given that Rolex doesn't seem to be doing much about fixing them. In this video, we'll be talking about some of these problems plaguing Rolex, the reason behind them, and why we think even the most loyal fans out there could soon be looking at other brands. First, let's talk about the gray market. It's basically a place where you can get original Rolex timepieces that you wouldn't be able to obtain from authorized dealers, especially the popular models. On the surface, the gray market appears to benefit buyers, since they have access to models not available at Rolex stores. But this is not the reality. Some luxury watches on the gray market are below the retail price, such as the popular Omega Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch, which is available for around 13% less than the manufacturer's list price. However, other rare sports timepieces are sold for more than 3 times the official retail price. Rolex sports watches have been in high demand for many years, driving their gray market values to skyrocket. Stainless steel models of the Daytona, GMT Master II, and Submariner are particularly popular, and if you don't want to wait long on the waitlist, you'll have to pay astonishing amounts for these timepieces. The 2016 stainless steel Daytona with a ceramic bezel is officially priced at slightly more than $13,000. On the other hand, prices on the black market may reach $26,000. Another wide margin in prices can be found with the GMT Master II with a blue and black bezel, the so-called Batman. The 2019 version with a Jubilee bracelet will set you back roughly $9,700 from a legitimate store, but will cost you 65% more on the black market. The knowledge of supply and demand is well known to the Rolex gray market, and they take advantage of it. They know what they have in their inventories and that most buyers can't get these models from authorized sellers, so it's all part of the game. A game Rolex hasn't done anything to end for a long time. Why then do people still flock to these markets when the pieces are priced exorbitantly? Well, that brings us to the next problem: waiting lists. The Rolex waitlist is a random order in which customers are sorted in order to obtain new Rolex watches when they visit the store. If you were to walk into a Rolex authorized dealer's shop right now, you would not be able to buy the watch you came for. Instead, you'd be placed on a 2 to 4 year waitlist, and sometimes even longer due to their lack of inventory. During that period of waiting, Rolex most certainly will have more than one price increase, and by the time the watch is finally available to you, you wouldn't be paying the price of the piece as at when you were shortlisted. But instead, you'll pay according to whatever price it is at when available. Some stores can be honest and straightforward, but others pretend like these lists don't happen. There are so many stories where a sales associate tells customers they have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on watches they don't want to have just to be on their good books and grab an opportunity to be put on a waitlist for a stainless steel sports model. The sad reality is that despite all that, it's not a guarantee that they'll get one. This brings us to the issue of shortages caused by supply and demand. It is a chief reason why people go to the gray market after all. What exactly is causing the Rolex shortage? This is where things start to get more interesting. To be fair, Rolex did experience a disruption to their supply chain during the last couple of years due to the closing down of their factories for several months. It's important to note that all Rolex watches are developed and produced in-house at the brand's 4 sites in Switzerland. They are assembled by hand with extreme care, of course. However, according to industry analysts, the scarcity was already starting at the time this occurred. It is said that while the official start of the Rolex shortage is unknown, it could be relatively pinned to the Baselworld 2016 and the release of the Daytona 116500 LN. Flaunted on social media by those lucky enough to own one, the new Daytona generated lots of hype, sending demand through the roof. And when collectors tried to score one through the nearest authorized dealer, they were told it was sold out and then put on a waiting list. Naturally, this only added to the hype and adjoining demand. Why hasn't Rolex been doing much about it? Here's a popular theory as to why. This theory centers on it being intentional, claiming Rolex created a scarcity to cause more demand, which could coerce users to buy other pieces from other collections to satisfy their cravings and increase their personal collections. Remember that the Rolex shortage doesn't necessarily apply to their entire line, but luxury steel models like the Daytona and Submariner. Who doesn't want a Submariner though? Adam Golden of Minta Watches said, Rolex seems to have structured their business in such a way that they're controlling distribution and who gets what at a retail level. Rolex initially did not respond to a request for comment on this story, but when Yahoo Finance covered the shortage, the company broke its characteristic silence, saying, "The scarcity of our products is not a strategy on our part." Feel free to make of it what you will, but whether the move is strategic or not, the bottom line is that Rolex could probably do a number of things to fix the current situation and increase the supply of these watches and dampen the secondary market. But at this point, it's almost as if they're choosing not to because it's good business for them. You can walk into any authorized dealer shop and see quite a number of flagship watches on their transparent display. Can you get some of them? Good luck with that, buddy. These prices on display are basically just it, for display only. And that can get pretty distasteful, given no matter how much you're willing to pay for that particular piece, you'll never be able to get it. How can a product be unavailable when it's right in front of our eyes? We understand the watches have to be seen on display by buyers before purchasing, but why would you make us drool over them if you weren't planning on selling them in the first place? Many companies use plastic prototypes to model their products, so why can't they do the same? The authorized dealers of Rolex, unlike the gray market, are the official vendors. How are they still part of a collective problem? They're basically absolute. They have the full power to sell their inventory to whomever they want, and often it's to flippers and, who knows, gray market agents. Flippers, in turn, only care about their profits, and just like in the gray market, they sell exorbitantly. Some authorized dealers play by the rules by selling meticulously to the order of their waitlists, but there seem to be more bad ones out there. It's said Rolex in the past has been monitoring how collections are sold to flippers, but why haven't they been able to checkmate the issue ever since? Another issue that has to be mentioned is their service centers. To put this blandly, vintage pieces restoration at such centers can be just laughably bad. There can be some mixed reviews about this, but for example, the Rolex Oyster Quartz Datejust costs around $3,000 to service. If it has an issue, it may require an electrician and a watchmaker to look at it to then fix it and make it look good as new, except it's literal. They fix everything by replacing the old and faulty parts with newer parts assembled, and it costs more than just fixing the required components. It's either that, or they basically do nothing about it. Also, Rolex watches are aggressively counterfeited. There's so many fake watches in the marketplace that it can be difficult to differentiate. Many people are probably thinking, why should I spend thousands of dollars on a product that broadly looks similar to a copy version I can get for way less? It's undeniable that some people just want to stand out, so many people can't even stand it when a stranger wears the same clothing at a party, and it applies here too. Many users could be boycotting to get that preferred uniqueness of not using a Rolex altogether. Another factor to consider is that obtaining a wide range of selections is challenging. The Rolex Daytona 116500LN, Rolex Oyster Perpetual 126000, and 124300 Tiffany dial, Rolex Submariner in steel, Rolex GMT Master 2 126710, BLRO, the Rolex Sky Dweller 326934 are some examples. It's incredibly difficult to get any of these regardless of the amount you're willing to pay on the authorized dealer's market. Rolex watches aren't precisely styled for everyone. The Rolex models that stand the test of time by holding their values are the sports or professional models, but these don't fit a more formal dress style. Omega, on the other hand, who are probably on the same level as Rolex, manufacture watches for all occasions and for all tastes. Their designs differ wildly from model to model, and yet you would still be able to distinguish each and every one as an Omega, something some Rolex watches struggle with. We understand it's not so easy to fix some issues, for instance, increasing the capacity to create more watches in stock to solve the problem of insufficient supply to match the demand, because watches are made by watchmakers, and the bulk of them have either worked for a long time and probably feeling the need of a career switch, or are old, with some even retiring. Newer watchmakers, however, would require training, and they would need experience as well to be able to adapt to making intricate luxury brands. A drawback possibly even Rolex's hand could be tied in this respect. Has Rolex been doing everything in its power to deal with these issues, or do you think they've simply let the situation play out the way they anticipated?